The tech industry has been seeing a lot of layoffs lately, and according to this CNBC article, at least 12 tech companies have already initiated staff reductions this year. If you've been affected by these rifts, first, my sympathies to you. As someone that's been part of a mass layoff before, I truly empathize with you guys and I know how it feels. But secondly, I wanted to share with you guys the top 8 things that I've done that have helped me when I was impacted by a reduction in workforce to prepare me to capitalize on my next career opportunity. So stick around as I go through the top 8 things that you should do when you get laid off. Welcome back to Daniel's Brew, where I talk personal finance and career development. So diving right in, the absolute first thing that you should do when you first receive news of your layoff is to clearly understand your separation terms. There's a lot that will go into your termination package, and it's critical that you know all of the parameters within that package. Here are a few things that you'll want to make sure you have clarity on within your terms. First, obviously, is your severance. How much is it exactly? And what is the date of distribution? Is it all in one lump sum? Is it delivered in whole in my last paycheck? Does it include a payout of my PTO time? Those are all things that you'll want to make sure that you have clarity on. Secondly, you'll want to ask what the terms of your healthcare benefits are and understand how long they extend and how to continue your coverage should you need it after this initial period is over. Most companies provide you a certain duration of COBRA coverage as part of the separation package. This allows you to continue your employee-sponsored healthcare plan during your severance period. But afterwards, if you need to continue it on your own, it could be very costly. So make sure you know all of the details here so that you can plan ahead for you and your family. Third, determine if you have a waiver for some of the critical employment terms that you've signed off on at the beginning of your employment. Things like your non-compete. Is that waived so that you can search for a new job at a competitive company right away? And if you're fairly new to your job, is your sign-on bonus payback clause or your relocation benefit payback clause also waived? If you've received such benefits when you first got hired on. In most cases, it would be, because the language in your original contract probably states that these stipulations only apply if you voluntarily leave the company. But it's always a good idea to get confirmation on these things so that you don't get surprised later on. Number 2 on the list would be to try to negotiate your severance if you can. Depending on the circumstances of your separation, you may have an opportunity to go back to your HR department and negotiate the exit terms. This is usually a viable option if the layoff involved a small number of employees or was very specific to a particular group, function, or a team. When you have a massive RIF, similar to the size and degree of the Amazon or Meta layoffs that happened recently, those packages are usually pretty standardized and there's nearly no capacity for adjustment. But as the old saying goes, it never hurts to ask. So if you get an opportunity to negotiate for a higher severance amount or more of your stock awards to vest or longer benefits coverage, then don't hesitate to do so. Next, you'll want to make sure that you establish all of your connections as you exit the company. This means reaching out to your colleagues, both those that are staying and those that were affected alongside you, and establishing LinkedIn connections and exchanging emails and other important contact info. You see, the most jarring thing about a mass layoff is that from a professional standpoint, you are all of a sudden separated from all of the routine touchpoints that you used to have with your colleagues on a daily basis. But that doesn't mean the relationships that you've built with these people and the personal familiarity with them instantly evaporates. The ones that you've truly connected with, the ones that really know you and support you, they'll continue to be your personal advocates long after this parting has happened. And it's important that for those people, you stay connected with them. Now, one of the most important things that you can do in this period in life is to give yourself some time to process and self-reflect. Many people often fall into the trap of starting their job search immediately after a layoff, without giving their bodies and most importantly their minds a chance to rest and rejuvenate. And as most of you know, job searches can take quite a while, and it can be immensely stressful during that time. So it's important that you first take a pause and then reset yourself so that you can mentally and physically prepare for the work that's to come ahead. But even more important than that is this mindset shift that you can make to actually think about this point in your career as a gift of time. You see, with the confidence of knowing that you are skilled enough, smart enough, and diligent enough to find a new job, you have to recognize that your re-employment into the workforce is simply going to be a matter of time. And so knowing that and having that confidence, think of this period as a small allowance of time in which you're free to do whatever you want in your life. Whether it's being more intentional about the time that you spend with your friends and family, or learning a new life skill, or simply fulfilling your soul with whatever it is you've always wanted to do. Because before you know it, you will have found and landed an amazing new job, and you'll be eager and excited to get started and resume your career path again, which is great, but it may be a long time before you get another chance, another opportunity like this to slow things down, pop your head up, and simply relish in the other aspects of your life. Trust me, it's something that I wish that I had done more of when I was in this type of situation a little while ago. Once you've had some time to rest and recharge, The next step is to set a plan and target timeline for your job search. According to this top resume article, the average job search now takes 5 to 6 months. And keep in mind that the time duration varies, of course, on the number of applications and resumes that you send out and each individual employer's hiring processes. But given that it may take up to half a year for you to secure a new job, you'll want to plan out your timeline with the following things in mind. First, make sure you bake in some time in the very beginning to revamp all of your career and brand artifacts. This includes revising your resume and updating your LinkedIn profile and gathering any work samples that you may need for your upcoming interviews. And keep in mind that this is your opportunity to ensure that your candidate profile reflects exactly what you want in your next role. So be sure to dedicate a decent amount of mindshare and effort into getting the narrative of your resume and supporting documents exactly right. The next few weeks of your timeline should be focused on active job seeking, which means structuring your work week to spend a portion of your days researching companies and open positions, and then the remaining portion of your week thoughtfully submitting your applications, knowing that all of your hard work will start to pay dividends approximately 1 to 2 weeks after your work is done when you're contacted by the recruiter. Then, hopefully, the next few following weeks are filled with interview loops for those positions which you've applied for earlier on, and one or more of those would result in an offer being made. But the key here is to structure your weeks and discipline yourself to consistently follow the process you've built within this timeline so that you can give yourself the best chance to capitalize on these new job prospects. Remember, job seeking is a job in and of itself, and you have to consistently work the process if you want to see the results. Related to that last step is this next one, which is to remember to optimize your LinkedIn profile. So let me talk to you guys about the importance of LinkedIn for just a second. Nowadays, LinkedIn is arguably the most important artifact that you can maintain as a job seeker, perhaps even more impactful than your resume. And that's because it's the only all-in-one platform that acts as a vehicle to convey your personal brand and career profile, and a digital channel in which you can discover and be discovered by recruiters and hiring managers, and a powerful networking tool that allows you to stay connected with former colleagues and companies that you've worked for or admire. For a job seeker, there are plenty of features that you can utilize and best practices that you should employ to refine your job search and seek the opportunities that you're looking for. So to that point, here are a few tips on LinkedIn that'll help you remain competitive in the candidate pool. First, when you separate from your former company, don't change your job title or status away from your current role just yet. Technically speaking, once you change your status or your job title to looking for work or seeking new opportunities, your searchability within the LinkedIn search algorithm loses one key input that would help recruiters find potential candidates in their search results. Also, according to this Forbes article, certain recruiters may have a preference for contacting potential candidates that are already employed versus those that are on a career break. The article states that there's a well-known preference for passive candidates, i.e. those who don't seem to be actively looking. It's like playing hard to get. I've seen this bias in action when working with recruiters and employers, and it's real. So for now, keep your title as is, and as you've been applying for new roles, let your resume and your initial conversations with the recruiter indicate your current status. Next, make sure you clean up your connections list. I know over the course of your career, you will have made a lot of connections with people that you just met once or twice on LinkedIn. And when you're not actively searching for a new career, making casual connections is just fine. But when you're actively job seeking, you'll want to scrub your connections and remove any people that you don't remember or have just met once at a networking event and have not seen ever again. The reason for this is because when you start your interview process, a hiring manager may look you up on LinkedIn and find that you share a connection with a particular person. Then they may contact that person for references on you, and if that person doesn't remember you or doesn't have anything impactful to say about you, it may just leave an unhelpful impression. Long story short, it can only hurt you to have an ineffective or lukewarm connection on LinkedIn. And when you're job seeking, you'll want to eliminate anything that might hurt your chances of successfully going through an interview loop. And to be honest, if you weren't really close to the people that you're removing off of your list anyways, those people will likely not remember you either. So it's always a good idea to refine your connections list before you start interviewing for new roles. And lastly, make sure you collect LinkedIn recommendations from those that you've worked closely with in the past. This is one of those things that really puts polish on your LinkedIn profile. It's impressive to see a profile that has 10 or more recommendations with glowing endorsements referring to your skills or your leadership qualities. It may not be the key thing that a recruiter or hiring manager looks at before deciding to put you in an interview loop, but it may be one of the factors that they revisit in making their hiring decision if you happen to be neck and neck with another candidate for the same job. Now, one of the best things that you can do during this period is to also make sure that you establish and maintain your physical and mental health. In addition to it extending your life and improving your mood and quality of living, firmly establishing your physical and mental health also has a huge impact in your job search process. You see, one of the most standout things that you need to successfully pass an interview process is confidence and leadership presence, both of which are affected by your physical and mental strength. You can't convey a sense of strong conviction and fortitude in your abilities if you're also battling your self-esteem. You can't effectively express enthusiasm or exuberance for the job if you're always tired and lethargic. And you can't convince a hiring manager that you're the right candidate for their job if you can't convince yourself that you deserve this opportunity. The way you physically and mentally show up and carry yourself, especially in a virtual hybrid interview process, says a lot about you, even more than you might think. So if you're not already in the right shape or the right state of mind that you want to be in, make sure you take some time to invest in yourself, both physically and mentally. And finally, the last thing that you should do is never ever let the circumstances of this career gap affect your self-worth. Remember, no one's career is exactly linear. Every executive, leader, CEO has had their share of setbacks. And within the course of your career, sometimes you have to take that one step backwards in order to take the next 2 steps forward. But taking that step back doesn't mean that you failed in your career. It doesn't mean that you weren't deserving of your past position. And it certainly doesn't mean that your skills or your background is any less valuable right now and that you don't deserve to find an even better job in the near future. All this period means is that at this current moment in time, you are meant to close that particular chapter in your career, and soon you'll be ready to start the next one. In my experience, every door that's closed for me has always led me to something bigger and better. It's always worked out that way for me, and it's something that I believe in for you and everyone else as well. Remember, it's a question of when, not if, you'll find that next great opportunity. So make sure you never let this circumstance question your worth or your merit. What you've built up in your career thus far, your skills, your experiences, your knowledge, that's all real and that's all extremely valuable, especially when the right role and the right company comes along. Alright, so there you have it. Those are the top 8 things that you should do when you get laid off. I hope you found the insights in this video useful, and if you'd like to watch my other career development content, then check out the link below in the description section. Thanks for joining me today on Daniel's Brew. Good luck out there, and we'll see you in the next one.